Good afternoon to my clients, contacts, and other interested parties. There are things going on in Victoria, and I thought I would get in touch to let you know. Of course, Derek Walker from SMTI, and thank you for listening. So, at the end of last year, a few contacts sent me a message saying, you might want to have a look at this, Derek. There is a bill which is sitting with the Victorian Parliament. You can see it on the screen. The Consumer and Planning Legislation Amendment Housing Statement Reform Bill 2024. Within this bill, there are many changes and significant ones for owners, corporation managers. As per Part 4, Amendment of Owners Corporations Act, amendments in relation to registration and continuing professional development requirements. Before I press on, active managers would be aware right now to be a registered manager, it's very simple. You take out an insurance policy, you pay a fee to the Business Licensing Authority, and that's it. So as long as you're not a convicted criminal, you can become a registered owners corporation manager in Victoria. Right now, this bill has not gone all the way through, so it is not yet law. However, it's looking like it's going to happen. For the little diagram on the screen, it is headed to the lower house, which is the Legislative Assembly, and it's had its second reading. As per the chart, you can see the flow of things. It will then, if it can pass, head to the upper house, and if the upper house can do their first and second reading and agree after the third, then it goes through assent. That's signed off by the Governor-General, and it becomes law. So it is important to note at the outset, as of right now, yep, it's just a bill. It's not an act yet. However, it's on its way and it has commenced the process. Of course, in that process of debating and reading, they may make changes, and if that happens, then hey, we'll deal with it when it comes up. But I just thought to let you know what the plan seems to be. I'll communicate with everyone right away. The first thing you can see in the bill is it nominates an officer in effective control. So the very first thing it's stating is there needs to be a natural person who puts themselves forward on behalf of an owner's corporation management company to be the officer in effective control. In the bill, it refers to the corporate entity. So, for example, the owner's corporation management company as the corporate manager. And then it says the corporate manager must have a registered officer in effective control. So that's the first little thing for us to look at. There needs to be a natural person in this position. Of course, as we go through there, it does note quite clearly under the current proposal, if you fail to have a registered individual, the Business Licensing Authority will basically cancel the registration of the manager. Okay, so you can see the suspension of manager's registration, failure to appoint an officer in effective control. It gives timeframes and other bits and pieces, but it's just something important that I wanted to point to for you today. Importantly, with this, you can see here, a manager who is a natural person or a registered officer in effective control must comply with prescribed continuing professional development requirements. That's interesting. So the bill is saying there are professional standards which must be met. Does it tell us what those standards are? Well, as we continue on through my little presentation, there's a date that's given to meet these supposed requirements, which is the 30th of June, 2027. So whatever those requirements are, you can see on the screen, courses or examinations that are prescribed must be met by the 30th of June, 2027. So as it is currently shaped up, we have a deadline to aim for. And then, of course, the missing information that we all sort of need to know, but it's just not in there. The current bill does not specify what the professional development standards are, what the examinations are. You can see under Division 2, Section 111, it's all going to be specified by the Minister of Consumer Affairs. And at this stage, there's been nothing put out to the public about what those standards are going to be. Commentary from my position and through what I understand, I've been involved in other states with similar situations. New South Wales, for example, the Certificate for in Strata Community Management is the training requirement that was set up in New South Wales, and it does make a lot of sense because it ties in with the National Vocational Education Training Network. So the way that everything's put together, if you think of it simply as the TAFE system, for example, if you want to become a plumber, you go through those processes, you get your certificate for, you then become a plumber and get your license, so on and so forth. That's what they've set up in New South Wales, and that is what many are expecting this to be. So when the Minister of Consumer Affairs exercises this power under 111, where it says they can prescribe courses and examinations for natural persons to be eligible to register, many are expecting they're going to say the Certificate for in Strata Community Management. However, until that's released, hypothetically, it could be anything. Again, my commentary is it's incredibly likely to be the Cert 4, but until we see the release from the Minister of Consumer Affairs, it is up in the air. With all of that in mind, personally, as Derek Walker running SMTI, I've had the Cert 4 in my business plan for a number of years. So depending on how this all flows out, I may be able to assist. So I'm already looking at the groundwork needed to partner with or start an RTO in order that the Strata Management Training Institute can run the Certificate for in Strata Community Management. And as per the notes, the actual qualification, it is a whopper. It's a big one. When you look at an individual Certificate 4, you look at how many subjects, they're called units, how many units are within the qualification, and there's 18, which is big, typically. If you were to approach a vocational education organisation and say, well, how long would you suggest this will take? 18 units, normally 1 to 1.5 years would be reasonable. So yeah, keep that in mind. So it's a whopper. Of course, with the groundwork I'm putting together, I have existing training that many of you have been through that will map to many of the parts of the Certificate 4. So in other words, if you have been through decision making or committee operations or the OC Insurance short course, many parts of those courses have been designed to map against the Certificate 4 units. Now, one of the processes from my end, there's a lot of work to be done, is to map all of my existing training against the Certificate 4 to see basically what boxes can be pre-ticked. So if your staff or you yourself have been through that training, how many of the boxes in the Certificate 4 can we actually tick through all of the training we've done with Derek and SMTI? And that's a question I need to answer. So we'll find out. And of course, if this does all launch, gets off the ground, as per the bottom note there are two primary methods to get the Certificate 4. The traditional one is you sign up, you do all of the subjects, you complete all of the work, and you get your certificate at the end. The second one is you go through an RPL process, a recognition of prior learning. And so through that process, I might say for Jane Doe, Jane, you've done a great job doing all these classes with SMTI. We can actually tick off 4 or 5 of the existing subjects through the other work you've done with us and through other evidence. You only need to complete these other ones. And so it's like a bridging exercise, if that makes better sense. There's like a gap filling process where you can say, well, I've got some RPL and I've got to do a little bit of training. Really experienced managers may be able to RPL most of, maybe the whole thing, depending on the experience and the evidence they've got. The one thing that's out of everyone's control with the Cert 4 is the government specifies the training requirements. So there might be some requirements in there that are quite hard to satisfy. I know in one of the units, it talks about terminating a strata community. So of course, that's something that not all managers have experienced. So providing evidence of having terminated a scheme, if you have it, then great. But that's a process that we all need to go through. But before I get too far ahead of myself, we are all waiting to see, number one, does the bill go through and become law? As far as I'm aware, the politicians return from holidays in February and will recommence. How high this one is on the priority list, well, I'll keep an eye on it and I'll let you all know. If it gets through, if it becomes law, based on the current draft, it's June 2027 is the deadline. What are the training requirements going to be? I am preparing for it being the Cert 4. we'll see what happens. If they come through with something entirely different, it would surprise me, but I guess never say never. But anyway, I just wanted to give you an update on what it looks like is coming down the pipeline. So it would appear there is the possibility for training requirements connected to managers and officers in effective control. Whether these current laws are tweaked or changed slightly in the process, we'll have to see, and I'll let you know when that all goes through. But yes, for now, there is the update from myself. As always, any questions, reach out to me. Thank you very much.